If almost every powerful empire runs on fear, what does it mean when the kindest civilization in the galaxy quietly decides that the dangerous species is the one it trusts most? You're told power is about who can hit the hardest, who has the biggest fleets, the loudest threats. But then you run into a different idea. That real strength might be the ability to not hit, even when every part of you is screaming to strike first. It really makes you wonder what actually keeps anyone safe. Guns and patrols, or the people who agree to keep their hands visible, their motives on record, and their tempers on a leash. So tonight, instead of replaying your own day, your mind gets to wander somewhere else. A neutral station called Lyre Spire, hanging between stars, where old rules say no one is allowed to fire. Out there, most of the galaxy still trust fear. But one soft-spoken civilization, the Aruan, has made a different bet. They've chosen to stand beside humans. Of all species, not because humans are gentle, but because humans built rails around their own worst impulses. Settle in however you like, because we're going to drift into that station now. You're an observer walking with the human delegation, watching Admiral Kira Vaughn, legal officer Toma Reyes, and the quiet Arun envoy Sail step into a hull full of fleets, grudges, and assumptions right before the tests of their restraint begin. The station hangs in quiet, dark, far from any sun. Like a lantern someone forgot to put out. Ships come and go around it. Slow and careful, small lights moving against the deep black. Inside, many kinds of minds share the same air and the same questions. Most of this galaxy still trusts fear. Big fleets, loud threats, heavy patrols in narrow trade corridors. Many leaders believe that safety means everyone else staying scared. You arrive as a simple observer, a quiet presence near the human delegation. You are not here to command, or vote, or argue. You are here to watch how a young, dangerous species and the gentlest civilization known stand together in a place built for talk instead of war. Tonight, a choice waits in the halls of Lyre Spire. Not a choice about who can hit the hardest, but about who is willing not to, even when it would be easy. The galaxy expects fear. You are here to see what happens when restraint stands up in plain sight. Lyre Spire sits between stars, far from any planet's pull. From outside, it looks like a long silver stem with wide rings of light around it, like petals that never close. Ships dock at those rings, carrying grain, metals, medicines, people's stories, and quiet plans. The station turns very slowly, giving a soft sense of down to those who like it, and nowhere to fall for those who prefer the float of open space. Inside, the air feels gentle and dry. Gravity is light but steady. Floors curve up and away, so that every long hallway feels almost like the inside of a slow wave. Glass walls show the dark outside, with stars like steady dust. The station is neutral ground. Old agreements say that no fleets may fire here, no matter how angry their leaders become. For many, Lyre Spire's the safest place they will ever stand. You move with the human delegation as they cross one of the wide central corridors. People in gray and deep blue uniforms walk at a calm pace boots making soft sounds on the floor. Small groups of other species pass by, tall, thin beings with faint light along their bones. Short, thick-set traders with scaled skin, a cluster of floating forms inside clear shells of water. Every group has its own way of moving, of standing, of looking. At the front of the human group walks Admiral Kira Vaughn. She is not very tall, but her presence feels steady, like a stone shaped by long water. Her hair is cut short, almost silver in this light. The lines at the corners of her eyes come not from frowns, but from many years of watching closely. She wears the simple uniform of Earth's Defense Council, with small marks on the collar that show her rank to those who know how to read them. She does not need loud signs or heavy metals. Her strength sits in how she walks and how she waits before she speaks. Beside her moves Toma Reyes, the legal and oversight officer. Toma's uniform is nearly the same, but without the marks of command. They carry a slim data slate at their side and move with quiet focus, eyes always shifting, catching small details. Who stands near which door? Who seems tense? Who seems tired? Who holds back from speaking? Toma's job is not to lead ships. Toma's job is to lead the systems that watch the ships, record what they do, and make sure every action can be explained to others. On Earth, people say Toma remembers laws the way some people remember songs. At the rear of the human group, close to you, walks a small cluster of aides and analysts. They are calm, but you can feel a light hum under their skin, a kind of alertness humans here know that many eyes still watch them with doubt. Only a few hundred years ago, Earth was broken by climate damage and old-style wars. The long repair taught humans a hard lesson. Power without limits eats the world that feeds it, so they changed their culture piece by piece, like slowly adjusting a ship's course. Now, every large action must pass through many hands, many checks. No single person can destroy as easily as the old leaders did. The hallway opens into a wide chamber where a curved balcony looks out on a cluster of ships docking and undocking. Here, the Galactic Council holds many of its side talks, the chats before and after the official meetings where real feelings show themselves. On the far side of the chamber, surrounded by a tight group of guards and aides, stands Counselor Drax Pell. His species, the Dratheni, are tall, with long limbs and hard ridges along the skull. Their skin has a soft, dark shine like oil on stone. Drax Pell's eyes are sharp and narrow, taking in movement the way a predator watches a clearing. Drax Pell leads the main Bloc, a coalition of strong civilizations that hold many trade corridors and carry the largest fleets. In most small conflicts, the Bloc keeps order. Their ships appear, their weapons charge, and disputes grow quiet. Many worlds pay their fees on time because they do not want to see those fleets up close. Beside Drax stands a projection map of the disputed trade corridor that has brought everyone to Lyre Spire. This stretch of space winds between several mid-level stars. It holds safe jump points, good fuel stops, and access to rich asteroid belts. For years, the Bloc has claimed the right to tax and patrol it. Now human ships have been bringing large relief barges through that same region, carrying aid to small colonies that could not pay Bloc fees anymore. The Bloc calls this a threat. Humans call it a duty. The Council must decide which view will set the rules. Near the edge of the chamber, almost blending into the soft light, stands Sal of Aruan. At first, you might not notice Sal. The Arun form is slight and graceful, with pale gray skin that takes on a faint sheen of blue near strong lighting. Their eyes are very dark and very large, and their hands have long, slim fingers that move in slow, gentle arcs as they speak. The Arun Collective has no fleets in the usual sense. Their ships are wide and round, made for rescue, research, and growing life. They have little interest in weapons and much interest in long talk, shared projects, and quiet help after storms. Many in the galaxy think of the Arun as soft, kind, and safe to ignore. No one fears them. No one worries about what the Arun might do if upset, because the Arun almost never show anger. You stand close enough to see Sail watching the room, their gaze moving from Admiral Vaughn to Drax Pell, then up to the great window with its view of the docks. An Arun aide stands beside Sail, speaking softly. Their language carries gentle tones, like slow water over smooth stone. Sail listens, then raises a hand in a tiny motion that means, wait, humans and Arun, side by side in this dispute, confuse many council members. To them, the picture does not fit. Humans are still seen as a dangerous young species. Strong and hot when pushed, the Arun are the galaxy's quiet helpers, slow to change, slow to move, and proud of their deep non-violence. Why would the Arun choose to support humans in a conflict over a trade corridor? Why would humans ask for help from a people with no fleets? To bring no threats, to add no hard leverage in votes. This confusion hangs over the chamber like a soft mist. You can sense it in the way some delegates glance at you and your group, then look away. You feel it in the subtle tilt of a Drathani guard's head, in the way a trader from a far belt taps claws against a rail, thinking. In a quiet corner, Toma Reyes checks their slate and looks toward Admiral Vaughn. They expect a show, Toma says in a low voice, meant for the Admiral but easy enough for you to hear. A sharp move, a threat, maybe a display from the fleet. Kira Vaughn's eyes stay on the distant stars. Then we will not give it to them, she answers. Her voice is calm, steady, almost gentle. We will give them a record instead, actions they cannot twist so easily. Tomas' mouth curves in a small smile, restrained on every channel. Kira corrects, not unkindly. Restraint is not just staying still. It is a choice backed by work. Sail of Arun steps closer to the humans, their movements slow and respectful. Admiral Vaughn, Sail says. Their voice is soft but clear with a smooth rise and fall. May I stand with you when you speak today? Kira turns towards Sail with a small nod. We would be honored. Some council members across the chamber notice this and grow still. Arun do not often stand visibly with anyone in disputes. They prefer to sit between sides, offer compromise, send rescue ships after harm is done. But today, Sail chooses a side before the main talks even begin. You feel the galaxy's assumptions sigh and shift just a little. Around you, the calm air of Lyre Spire holds a quiet question. What if the strongest power in this room is not Drax Pell's, fleets, or the Bloc's tax codes, or the hidden threat of force? What if the strongest power is the choice, again and again, not to use what you could easily use? You stand very still, watching. You have come here wanting to understand how real safety forms. In this moment, you begin to see where to look, not in the loud speeches, but in the small spaces between them, where decisions about restraint take shape. Soon the provocations will begin. The Bloc will test how far humans can be pushed without striking back in the old ways that once came so easily. And Sail of Aru, from a non-violent people, will watch those tests with careful eyes. The first move comes not in the Grand Council Hall, but in the long shadow of the disputed corridor itself. You watch the record later, in a quiet viewing room on Lyre Spire. Tomarea sits at the console, calling up clear, layered images from many angles. Human ships use full transparency now. Almost every action is watched, recorded, and sent to shared archives as fast as light will carry it. On the screen, a human relief barge moves through the dark, slow and heavy. Its long tanks hold water, medicinals, soil packs, and simple building units. Its engines glow a warm orange, not bright, not fast. Small escort craft fly in a loose ring around it, mostly unarmed, fitted with rescue tethers and signal repeaters, not with heavy guns. This was 3 days ago, Toma says. Near the blue edge boundary of the corridor, a new shape appears on the record. A Bloc enforcement craft, sleek and sharp, sliding in from the side of the frame. Its profile is narrow, its engine flare is strong and white. It comes in too close, too fast, cutting across the relief barge's path and forcing the heavy ship to adjust course. They slow the record. Numbers about distance and speed show as simple lines and shapes in the corner. To your eye, the Bloc craft's move looks careless. To someone who knows ships, it looks planned. The enforcement craft sends a tight beam signal. The record shows only translation, not tone. Human vessel, you are entering a controlled tax lane. Prepare to transfer your cargo to approved Bloc receivers for inspection. The human captain responds, calm and firm. This corridor is under council review. Relief cargo is moving under open flag, with full records provided. As the words pass back and forth, the Bloc craft edges closer and closer. Its hull almost grazes the human barge's side. Any sudden move could cause a collision. Note their pattern, Toma says. They want a mistake they can blame on us. On the record, the human escorts pull back instead of pushing forward. A soft blue boundary field extends from their hulls, marking a safety zone around the relief barge. No weapons warm. No targeting locks show. The human captain's voice stays even, like someone guiding a child away from a stove. Enforcement craft, the captain says. You are risking hull contact with a humanitarian ship. Please adjust your course. The Bloc craft waits 2 long seconds, then snaps back with a short burn, just enough to avoid a crash. Then it cuts off contact and jumps away. You sit in quiet as the record ends. Your muscles feel tight, as if you had been the one holding still in that ship, watching a sharp hull swing near. That was the first, Toma says. They did not get what they wanted, so they tried another angle. In the days that follow, the provocations grow more public and more personal. Smear stories spread through the council channels. Some show old images of Earth during its worst years, with gray skies and broken cities. Others show clips from minor human conflicts on distant colonies, taken out of context to make humans look wild and cruel. Comment feeds carry lines like, "Can a species that nearly killed its own world be trusted with trade corridors?" And humans speak of restraint now, but what will they do when they hold real power? The Bloc's own media arms praise their fleets as stable hands and keepers of order. They call the relief barges cover for influence, say that humans are buying loyalty with free goods, planning to build their own tax system in secret. In the human delegation's meeting room, the mood stays controlled, but you can feel heat under the surface. The room is simple, with a wide oval table, gentle lighting, and a clear view of the starfield beyond. Kira sits at the head of the table, back straight, hands folded loosely. Toma sits to her left with the data slate. Around them sit ship captains, analysts, and a few quiet staff from Earth's ethics and oversight councils. A captain with dark skin and a short, careful beard leans forward, fingers pressed together. "Admiral, this latest smear mentions my crew by name. They call us smugglers. They hint at collusion with border raiders, even off-duty on a side screen. Short clips run of human faces, cut from other moments, used now as false evidence. It is light manipulation, but sharp. We can file a formal protest," another officer says. "We can demand a correction, and they will laugh." The bearded captain says, "They want us angry. They want us loud." Kira listens, letting the silence stretch a little, giving space for anger to rise and then settle. She asks the captain. He blinks, surprised. "Me, Admiral? You and your crew carry this record," Kira says. "Your names are in their story. What is your first response if you speak purely from hurt?" The captain's jaw works. He looks down at his hands. "I want to take a cruiser to their nearest tax platform," he says slowly. "I want to take a cruiser to their nearest tax platform." He says slowly, "I want to hold station right outside their safe limit and show them we are not weak. I want them nervous for once. And if you speak from duty," Toma asks gently, "and if you speak from duty?" Toma asks gently. The captain takes a breath through his nose and lets it out. His shoulders drop a little. "From duty," he says, "I want a clear, open record of our last 10 runs through the corridor. I want every cargo list, every rescue, every medical offload, every shared call for aid, published in a form even a child can read. I want people to see what we actually do. Kira's eyes soften. Which of those wants will protect more lives? The second, he admits, and which feels better? In the short, angry moment, she asks. The first, he says, and there is a tired smile now, by a lot. This is the work, Kira says quietly, looking around the table. Restraint is not the absence of force. It is the constant choosing of the smaller, cleaner move, even while the larger one sits right in front of us, shining and easy. Toma taps a quiet command into their slate. We can set up a live, shared archive of Corda runs, they say. Linked to neutral monitors. Every ship's path, every call, every cargo detail, all verified, not as a defense against their lies, but as a standing offer of proof. A younger officer frowns. They will say we are grandstanding. They will twist the numbers anyway. They may, Toma says, but the record will still be there, waiting when people are ready to see. Kira nods. Do it, and add one more layer. Invite Aru observers to audit the archive. There is a soft stir in the room. The Arun someone asks. They avoid sharp politics, which is exactly why their review carries weight. Toma says, if Sale signs off on our procedures, many small worlds will trust that more than any ruling from the Bloc. Later Sale joins them in a smaller side room, lit by a soft blue glow. The Arun envoy stands near the window for a moment, watching a slow trail of docking lights outside, then turns to the humans. You wish our eyes on your records, Sale says. This is unusual. Kira meets their gaze. We wish more than that. We want systems that do not depend on trust in a face, or a flag, or a voice. We want trust in process, in open proof. Sale tilts their head, considering. Many in this galaxy claim to want that, they say. Few invite others to check their claims at this depth. Toma brings up a simplified view of the planned archive. We are designing it so that even if our own leaders change, the system will resist quiet tampering, they say. Multiple sign-offs, random checks, public alarm if data shifts without reason. Sale studies the model, long fingers moving slowly as they point. And if someone attacks you while you are bound by all these checks, they ask. If a fleet decides that your restraint is a weakness to press, Kira answers without pause. Then we respond only as far as needed to stop harm, not a step farther. And we show every step we take, live to anyone who wishes to watch. Sale's dark eyes rest on her face for a long, still moment. Human history does not suggest such patience, they say. No, Kira agrees. It does not. That is why we built rails around ourselves. We learn that self-control fails when fear runs high. So we set up many layers of control around power, so that no single fear, no single anger can move it alone. In the days that follow, the Bloc raises the pressure. Their enforcement craft appear more often near human relief runs. They measure distances very closely, always just within legal margin, always near enough to make crews tense. Small insults pass over shared bands, slow claps, mock salutes. old jokes about Earth's ruin and the species that almost did not make it. In a rougher corner of the station, Bloc aides spread stories in bars and rest decks. They say humans drink weak liquids, cannot stand real gravity, need safe zones and panels of lawyers before they can act. They laugh at the idea of fleets tied down by tribunals and audits. Each time news of these small cuts reaches the human meeting room, the first answers are hot. Some want to answer insult with insult. Some want to stage quick tight maneuvers near Bloc stations, just to remind everyone that humans fly, as well as anyone. Each time, Admiral Vaughn brings the room back to the same question. What is the smallest action that stops harm without becoming new harm? The question hangs. People think. The hot answers cool. Sometimes the smallest action is simply to collect a log and pass it to Tomas' growing file for the tribunal. Sometimes it is a single firm public statement, short and clear, without attack. Sometimes it is an invitation to neutral parties to ride along on relief runs, to see for themselves. You stand near the wall for many of these talks, feeling how heavy the choice for restraint can be. It is not a relaxed stillness. It is tight, trained, like a muscle held steady against a strong pull. Sale of Arun often attends these sessions now, sitting with hands folded, eyes moving from speaker to speaker. At first, Sale had seen human restraint as a kind of softness, perhaps a sign of fear of repeating old mistakes. They see that when a Bloc craft cuts close to a relief barge, every human pilot feels the burn to push back. The choice not to, held again and again, takes real strength. They see that Toma's systems of oversight are not chains tossed over unwilling crews. The crews themselves helped build these rails after long debates on Earth and in the far colonies. This is restraint chosen, not placed from above. One evening, after a tense debrief, where a relief run was nearly blocked, but ended without harm, Sile walks beside you, and Toma down a quiet corridor. The station's lights are low, and stars outside look closer than before. You do not strike, Sale says at last, even when insulted, even when pushed, even when your ships are touched. Toma answers, voice soft. Sometimes we do strike, but we keep narrowing the conditions. We try to set rules in calm times that hold firm when anger rises. Among the Arun, we often say that non-violence is a deep stillness, they say. But what I see here is a different form. Not stillness, but constant work around the self. Many small walls, many small choices. That is how we hold the line, Toma says. Not just with hulls and shields, but with habits. Sale looks through the clear wall at the dark beyond. I came here thinking that humans stood on the edge of danger, they say. Now I see that you stand on many edges, by choice, and keep building rails instead of bigger guns. You feel the words settle into you. You came here wanting to see how true safety forms. In these long days of insults and near collisions, you are starting to see that restraint is not empty. It is a strong, shaped thing, held up by people like Kira and Toma, and watched with growing respect by people like Sale. Far out in the disputed corridor, Bloc ships continue to press. Their leaders hope that sooner or later, a human captain will snap and give them the show they want. A sudden flare of weapons. A sudden flare of weapons. A sharp blow they can parade before the council as proof of human nature. But the crisis that will matter most does not arrive in the form the Bloc expects. It comes as a mistake, a risk to civilians, a moment when all eyes turn to see what humans will do when faced with real present danger. And when that moment comes, the discipline behind their restraint will be tested in full view of the galaxy. The crisis begins with a small miscalculation, not a plan. 3 days after the last tense near collision, a Bloc enforcement wing moves into the disputed corridor again. On paper, it is a simple patrol. In practice, it is another attempt to push human ships off their relief route. You are in the human operations room on Lyre Spire. When the first alert comes in, the room is shaped like a half circle, with chairs and stations facing a broad curve of displays. The air smells faintly of metal and clean filters. People speak in low voices, saving sharp tones for alarms. Toma stands near the main display, hands on the edge of the console. Admiral Kira Vaughn stands slightly behind, watching everything, her face steady. A watch officer looks up, eyes tight. "Admiral, we have a live feed from relief barge Asterion," she says. "They are in the corridor, and Bloc ships just redirected traffic through a nearby civilian habitat's approach zone." On main, Kira says. The view shifts. The dark of space fills the screen, broken by faint glows. At the center floats the Asterion, long and heavy, its cargo modules lit with soft rings of blue. Around it move human escort craft, small and careful, maintaining their usual protective pattern. Farther out, 3 Bloc enforcement cruisers hold a hard triangle around a spinning cylinder, a civilian habitat station. It is not a military target. It is a home you can see lines of light along its surface, marking growing bays, living spaces, small docks. It spins gently, giving the people inside a simple, steady gravity. "Why are they that close to the hab?" Toma asks, voice low. The watch officer brings up traffic lines, shown as thin, colored paths around the habitat. The Bloc cruisers have just ordered a reroute of local cargo traffic, pushing several independent haulers into a narrow slot between the station and the human relief route. They are trying to create a congestion incident, Toma says, anger under the calm words. If anything goes wrong, they can blame us for entering a crowded zone. A new mark blinks on the display, closing on the habitat too fast. A small cargo tug, old and underpowered, struggles to adjust as new orders hit its system. Its course bends, then wobbles, then dips toward the habitat's outer dock ring. The room grows quiet. "Zoom and overlay," Kira says. The image tightens. You see the wobbling tug, its tiny thrusters flaring hard. You see one of the Bloc cruisers pivot slightly, its hull mass adding new pull to the mess. You see the civilian habitat's outer structures, not built for impact, turning slowly in the dark. Impact risk? Kira asks. High, the watch officer says. If the tug hits the outer ring at that speed, it could tear a segment loose. There are civilians in that section. A soft alarm tone begins to pulse in the room, not a blaring sound, but a deep, slow note that carries weight. Everyone looks to Kira. She does not raise her voice. Who has authority in that zone right now? She asks. Technically still disputed, Toma says. But Bloc ships issued the last directive to traffic. Kira's jaw sets. So they will claim they are handling it. They are not handling it, the watch officer says. Eyes on the tug's path. They are making it worse. As if to prove it, one Bloc cruiser attempts a tractor pull on the tug, trying to jerk it clear. The tug's hull spins wildly, like a toy grabbed by a careless hand. Its nose swings straight toward a line of habitat modules. For a moment, everyone in the room seems to hold their breath. Admiral, Toma says, voice very quiet. If we act, they will say we interfered in their operations. If we do not, civilians may die on live feed. Kira does not look away from the screen. Bring up Asterian's captain, she says. The image of the tug and the habitat freezes in a paused overlay and shifts to one side. On the other side, the face of the Asterian's captain appears. The same bearded man from the earlier meetings, now wearing a ship headset. Eyes sharp and tense. Admiral, he says, we see it. We can get there faster than any of the Bloc ships, but if we move, they will call it aggression. Can you reach the tug? Kira asks. Tractor range? Rescue grapples? Yes, ma'am, he says. We can cradle it and bleed velocity, but we would need to come in close to the habitat, inside their claimed control bubble. Another soft alarm starts, a warning from the station's legal nets. Toma glances at their slate, then up at Kira. Any intervention without notice could be ruled a breach. Toma says they will push for sanctions. They will say this proves we cannot respect boundaries. Kira closes her eyes for the length of a slow inhale, then opens them again. When she speaks, each word is clear. Toma, open full broadcast, she says. All channels. Civilian, council, public. I want every sensor, every audio, every commander's word recorded and shared in real time. Thomas' hands move fast. Broadcast live. They confirm Compern, no delay. Routing through neutral relays. Kira looks back at the Asterian's captain. Captain, you are to treat this as a rescue event, she says. Your priority is civilian life. That includes the tug crew, the habitat civilians, and the Bloc pilots. You will not fire. You will not threaten. You will announce your intent on every channel as you move. The captain nods, shoulders squaring. Understood, rescue event. Understood, rescue event. No weapons. Total transparency. Kira adds, your ship's internal cameras go live as well. Bridge, rescue bays, tractor control. Everything. If a hand reaches for a weapon, I want the galaxy to see it and to see who pulls it back. A faint, grim smile. crosses the captain's face. "Yes, Admiral." The call ends. The screen fills again with the external view as the Asterians' escorts shift position, their engines light, not with the hot blast of an attack run, but with the steady burn of a rush to help. "Sail needs to see this," Kira says. "I already sent a ping," Toma replies. They are on their way. On the screen, the human escorts fan out ahead of the barge, forming a wedge. They send wide-band messages as they move. Human relief escorts moving to rescue mode. Intent: protect civilian habitat and vessel. All actions being recorded and broadcast. You can read the translations on the side, short and blunt. No fancy words. No room for twisting. At first, the Bloc cruisers do not seem to understand. They keep pulling on the tug, making it spin worse. Then their sensors must catch the human's path and the broad broadcast. You see a flick of engine light as one cruiser tries to slide between the tug and the habitat too late. The tug's nose clips the edge of the cruiser's projected field. The field flares and collapses. The tug spins harder, falling toward the habitat's outer growth ring. Gasps rise in the operations room. Someone curses under their breath. Kira says nothing. Her eyes stay on the screen. The first human escort reaches tractor range and fires its own grapples, not at the Bloc cruiser, but at the tug itself. Its beams lock on gently, then spread, trying to slow the spin. A second human ship joins, then a third, each adding careful pull, talking to each other over open bands, adjusting force, watching stress lines. Keep it even. Do not tear the hull. Their voices come through the speakers in clear, simple phrases. No war cries, no glory, just work. One Bloc cruiser suddenly drops closer, angling as if to shove the tug away by brute force. If it does, the tug could break apart, sending burning fragments into the habitat. Kira leans forward. Are they out of their minds? Someone mutters. "Open a channel," Kira says. Bloc Cruiser Beta 7. A tight window pops up on the screen, showing a Bloc commander's face. Rigid, eyes bright, with stress and anger. "Admiral Vaughn, your ships are in a restricted," Kira cuts in, firm. "Your tractors caused a spin that now threatens civilians," she says. "Our ships are stabilizing the tug. If you move to ram, you will increase the damage and the loss of life. Stand off and let them work. You have no authority here." The Bloc commander snaps. "Disengage, or we will." The sentence breaks as the tug lurches again. The image shakes. Behind him you see his own crew fighting controls. "Commander," Kira says, voice now carrying a hard core. "You are live on open council channels. Every choice you make is being recorded and watched. Do you wish the galaxy to see you ram civilians out of pride?" The Bloc commander's jaw works. He looks off screen to his own feeds, his own risk maps. All cruisers stand off by 2 lengths. He growls. "Let the humans handle their mess." Cuts. In the main view, the Bloc cruisers flare engines and drift back. The human escorts keep gentle pressure on the tug, slowing its spin, bleeding its forward speed. The tug's nose nudges the edge of the habitat's outer ring. Metal creaks and shines, but holds. A line of small lights along the ring flicker, then steady. In the operations room, the slow alarm tone fades. Someone lets out a long breath. We have hull contact, the watch officer reports. But no breach. The tug is stable. Habitat reports minor damage, no depressurization. Applause does not break out. This is not that kind of room. Instead, there is a deep, shared exhale, a quiet sag of shoulders, a few brief, relieved smiles. Keep the broadcast running, Toma says. We stay live until every ship is clear and every injured person is accounted for. On the display, rescue pods move from human escorts to both the tug and the Bloc cruiser that lost its field. Human medics in bright suits cross to care for injured Bloc crew, as well as tug workers. Their helmet feeds show calm, practiced hands, equal care for all. Kira turns away from the screen at last and looks toward the door, just as it opens. Sail of Orun stands there, breathing a little faster than usual from the quick walk, eyes wide and fixed on the displays. They are safe? Sail asks. For now, Toma says. Come in, watch the final phase. Sail steps into the room, drawn toward the main screen. They see human ships moving like careful hands around fragile pieces. They see Bloc cruisers kept at a distance, not by weapons, but by the weight of public witness. You transmitted this to everyone? Sail asks. Every channel we could reach, Toma answers. IO cluster monitors, border observatories, neutral relays. Anyone who cares to look has the same view you have now. Sail watches as human medics lift an injured Bloc pilot onto a stretcher, passing it into a human rescue bay. The pilot's species is not used to human gravity levels. The medics adjust the stretcher's field to match. No one speaks harshly. No one spits blame. This is not how most fleets act when rivals make mistakes, Sail says quietly. Kira answers with a tired half-smile. We could have hung back, she says. Let the Bloc crash their own tug into that habitat. The blame would have sat neatly on their shoulders. But those civilians do not care whose fault it was. They care who came to help. Sail turns to her fully. You know this will not end the dispute, they say. The Bloc will still fight you in council. They will say you staged this. They will say you used rescue as cover for a power play. They can say what they like, Kira replies. We will have the record, and so will you. The hours that follow are full of reports and statements. The Bloc tries, at first, to twist the story. Their channels run tight, edited clips that show only the moment human escorts move toward the habitat, not the spin the Bloc tractors caused. They call it reckless interference and territorial violation. But the full human feed exists in many hands now. Not just their own. Independent observers on nearby stations post the raw sequence. Tractors, spin, near-impact human intervention, calm rescue. The habitat's residents share messages of thanks with shaky images taken from inside their windows showing human ships outside, holding a steady line between them and flying wreckage. The Council's emergency tribunal, already half on alert due to Thomas' previous filings, calls for a rapid review. Representatives from many species join a shared session on Lyre Spire and by distant link. You sit in the gallery as Toma presents the layered record with careful, simple language. We did not fire, Toma says. We did not damage Bloc hulls. We did not threaten. We acted under a simple principle that Earth now holds as law. When lives are at risk in a shared space, any ship that can help, and must do so in a way that causes as little new risk as possible. A Bloc advocate pushes back. You violated our control zone. You embarrassed our command in front of half the galaxy. Your command embarrassed itself, Toma replies, still calm. We only made sure others could see clearly. The tribunal reviews flight data from both sides. They listen to the tug pilot, still shaken, describing block orders that changed 3 times in 60 seconds. They listen to habitat engineers describing how close they came to losing an entire section. In the end, the ruling is careful, but clear enough. The tribunal does not strip the Bloc of all authority in the corridor, but it does issue a formal warning about unsafe tractor use and states, in public record, that human intervention reduced likely harm to civilian life. For the Bloc, used to their methods being quietly accepted, this is a stinging rebuke. For the Aruan, it is in answer to a question they have been holding. That evening, Sail meets with Kira and Toma in the station's garden deck, a long curved space where real plants grow under soft lights. The air is warmer here, with the faint, rich scent of soil and leaves. Thin trees reach up along the curve, their branches touching the light panels above. Small pools of water sit between paths, with tiny currents moving across their surfaces. You stand near a group of low shrubs, close enough to hear. Sile rests their hands on the railing beside a pool, watching light move on the water. On Arun, they say slowly, we often argue about what kind of strength we wish to stand near. For generations, we chose distance from fleets and weapons. We said that where such things are, harm will follow sooner or later. Kira listens, one hand lightly touching the trunk of a thin tree, as if to ground herself. In you, Sail continues, I saw a species that once used harm freely, then stepped back from the edge. I did not know if that step would hold when pressure rose. And now, Toma asks. Sail looks at them. Now I have seen your ships move, like healers, not like punishing hands, they say. I have seen you tie your own power in ropes of law and transparency, and keep them tied even when a clean victory might be found in cutting through. Kira smiles faintly at the phrase. Clean victories are rarely as clean as they seem, she says. Sail inclines their head. The Arun do not have fleets to match the Bloc. We never will. But we do have choices about who we trust and who we stand beside when trouble comes. They take a breath, as if holding the weight of what comes next. In the next council session, Sail says, the Aruna Collective will announce a formal alliance with humanity focused on rescue, mutual aid, and open oversight of shared corridors. We will say in clear terms that we consider your form of restraint not a weakness to avoid, but a strength to lean on. The words land in the quiet garden like small stones in still water. Thomas' eyes widen. You know the Bloc will strike back, they say. Trade pressure, threats to your outposts. They may try to isolate you. Sale's gaze does not waver. We know, they say. But we have been building something else quietly for many years. Mutual aid networks, shared storage with small, independent worlds, redundant paths for food and medicine. We prepared for the day when we might need to say no to fear. They look at Kira with a gentle seriousness. What we did not have was a partner with heavier hulls and long-range reach who would agree to use that reach only under bright lights. Kira's reply is simple. Then let us stand together, she says. We will not always choose perfectly, but we will choose in the open, where others can see and judge. Sale's face softens into something close to relief. That is all we ask, they say. As you stand among the plants, listening, you realize that the crisis in the corridor did more than prevent one accident. It showed, in a way no speech could, the shape of a different kind of protective power. Power that moves first to shield, not to strike. Power that accepts every new rail of oversight as a support, not a chain. Power that treats restraint not as weakness, but as a difficult daily skill. Far away, in the disputed space where it all happened, the civilian habitat circles calmly again. The tug sits docked for repairs. Human rescue shuttles and Arun survey craft now move in slow patterns nearby, mapping risks, checking hulls, sharing notes. The Bloc's cruisers still watch from the distance, bristling with silent anger. They have not fired. They have not left. They are used to ruling by fear, and now they face something that does not scare so easily. In the next council session, Sale will stand in the center chamber beside Admiral Kira Vaughn, and the Arun will make their choice clear for all to see. And you, who came here to understand how real safety is built, have just watched a new kind of safety take a solid, visible form in the space between danger and response. The council chamber on Lyre Spire feels tighter than before, even though its walls have not moved. Delegates fill the curved rows, their colors and shapes forming a ring of watching eyes. The ceiling arches high overhead, dark and smooth, dotted with small, steady lights that mark out the main trade routes. Known to the council, today the disputed corridor glows in a soft blue line, a quiet reminder of why everyone is here. You stand along the upper tier, near the human section. Below, Admiral Kira Vaughn sits at the human table, shoulders straight, face calm. Toma Reyes sits beside her, slate in hand, eyes scanning the room. On the opposite side, Councillor Drax Pell settles into his own seat. His ridged head tilts back slightly, jaw tight. His aides stay close, their faces hard. Between the human and Bloc stations stands a central speaking platform. Right now, it is empty. bright under focused lights. A soft chime sounds. The council chair, a thin being with translucent skin and slow, graceful movements, raises both hands. We convene to hear statements on the corridor incident and propose changes to its governance, they say. The Ottawan Collective has requested the first speaking place. A murmur passes through the chamber. The Aruan rarely ask to speak first. Sail of a guy rises from their seat near the neutral observers' row and moves to the platform. Their steps are unhurried, their posture gentle. When they reach the center, they place both hands lightly on the railing, as if to steady not their body, but their words. For a moment, Sal simply looks around the room. Their dark eyes meet faces from dozens of worlds. When they speak, their voice is soft, but the chamber's design carries it to every ear. For many cycles, Sail begins. The Arun Collective has avoided firm alliances with those who hold large fleets and heavy weapons. We chose this path because we believed that where such power gathers, harm follows. We chose to stand apart and then to arrive only after harm, with aid and healing. They pause, letting the thoughts settle. In recent cycles, they continue. We have watched humanity take a different road. This young species, known first for almost breaking its own world, chose to bind its power in systems of law, oversight, and open record. We did not know if that choice would hold. When fear rose in pride was touched. Sail glances briefly toward Kira, then back to the chamber. During the corridor incident, they say, we saw human ships move when lives were at risk. We saw them move like guardians, not conquerors. They did not fire on Bloc craft. They did not use the Bloc's mistake as a chance to humiliate. They treated injured Bloc crew and tug workers with the same care, and they showed every action openly, for all to see and judge. Drax Pell shifts in his seat, ridges flaring slightly. A low sound runs through the Bloc delegation, part disagreement, part unease. Sal raises one hand, fingers spread. The Bloc has long argued that safety in the corridors comes from fear, they say, from knowing that if you cross them, their fleets will make you pay. Many accepted this idea because they feared the cost of saying no. Their gaze moves slowly across the Bloc section, then to small clusters of delegates from minor worlds. Some in simple cloth, some in modest suits of metal. We do not accept this any longer, Sal says. Their voice does not grow louder, but it gains a stronger, firmer line. We have seen another kind of strength, a strength that acts under bright light, with limits set before anger rises, a strength that chooses the smallest move, that can still protect. A quiet stillness falls over the chamber. Even those who disagree feel the weight of what is coming. Therefore, Sael says, the Aruna Collective announces today a formal alliance with humanity. This alliance is not for conquest. It is not for claims or taxes. It is for rescue, mutual aid, and shared oversight. We will join our ships and systems to create safe corridors where power is always watched, always answerable, always measured. We choose to stand close to those who can strike, and choose again and again not to. The words land like a solid stone in the center of the room. There is a sharp intake of breath from many sides. Some delegates exchange shocked looks. A few from small, often ignored worlds sit up straighter, eyes bright. Drax Pell rises at once. He does not wait for the chair to grant the floor. "This is madness," he says, voice cutting. "The Aruan tie themselves to a species that toys with rules. Humans are dangerous. They hide sharp teeth behind soft words. And you, Sail, would bring them closer to your peaceful worlds?" The chair gives a small, patient gesture. "Counselor Pell, you will have time to respond," they say. "We will hear the Aruan's full statement first." But Drax pushes on. "Everyone in this room knows what comes next," he says, turning to the wider chamber. "If the Aruan join with humans in this corridor, the Bloc will review all trade agreements with Aruan outposts. We will no longer guarantee safe passage for your relief ships. Those who stand against us do not enjoy our protection." Some delegates flinch. Protection from the Bloc's fleets has meant easier travel and safer docks for a long time. Losing it will hurt. Sail waits for the stir to quiet a little, then speaks again. Still calm, Counselor Pell speaks truly about one thing, they say. "We do know what comes next. We have prepared for it." A low rustle passes through the room. "For years," Sal continues, "we have built mutual aid networks with small and mid-level worlds. We have shared seeds, repair methods, medical knowledge, and storage plans. We have practiced living with less sudden abundance from the Bloc's trade lanes. We have studied how to bend without breaking when a large hand pulls back goods and fuel." They look straight at Drax Pell. "We would rather accept hardship shared with friends than comfort bought with fear." Drax's eyes narrow, his ridges pressed down. "Fine words," he says. "But when your outer outposts starve, when your habitats lack spare parts, you will remember who kept the lanes safe all these cycles." Sail tilts their head slightly. "Who did you keep them safe from?" they ask. "From pirates?" "Yes." "From raiders?" "Yes." "But also from the free choices of those who could not pay your tolls, but wished to travel, trade, or help each other without your hand on their throats." The words shock the chamber into silence. The Aruan almost never speak so directly. Sail turns back to the council as a whole. "We do not ask that you all join our alliance," they say. "We know that not everyone is ready. We ask only that you watch. Watch how human and Aruan ships act in the corridors we share. Watch our records. Watch how we respond to raids, to accidents, to sudden storms. Then decide, not from fear of the Bloc, and not from old stories about human rage, but from what you actually see." They step back from the platform. The chair nods, statement recorded. The chair says, "Counselor Drax Pell, you may respond." Drax moves to the platform at once, heavy steps ringing on the floor. He looks out at the chamber with a hard, steady stare. "The Bloc has held these lanes for longer than humanity has flown between stars," he says. "We have lost ships and lives keeping pirates and border raiders at bay. We have poured metal and credits into patrols and repairs. You all know this. He points a long finger toward the human section. Now this young species arrives with talk of restraint and transparency, he says. They act like heroes in one accident partly caused by their own presence. And the Arun rush to their side like children chasing a new story. In the human section, Kira does not react. Tomas' gaze stays level. Drax presses on. Understand this, he says, voice dropping into a darker tone. If the Arus stand with humans against the Bloc's accepted control of this corridor, the Bloc will no longer treat Aru's vessels as neutral. We will search them. We will delay them. We will raise tolls on any world that gives them docking rights. A pained murmur runs through the outer rows. Some delegates from small farming moons look stricken. Others look quietly thoughtful, eyes turning toward the human and Aruan sections. Drax gives a short, sharp smile. You may talk of restraint all you like, he says, but in the cold of space, it is fleets that decide who eats. He steps down from the platform. The air feels tight, charged. The chair breathes out slowly. We have heard two clear positions, they say. The council will now move to discussion of the legal structure of this corridor. As formal talk begins, the careful push and pull of clauses, rights, and duties, you watch the faces in the room more than the words. You see fear, yes, but you also see something else rising among some delegates, the faint curve of hope, the thought that the Bloc's rule by fear might not be the only path. The session runs long. By its end, no final vote has been taken, but a working group is formed. Humans, Arion, a few bold small world delegates, and even one Bloc representative are named to draft a new set of corridor rules based on shared oversight and open records. It is not a victory yet. It is, however, a foothold. Days pass. The Bloc makes good on its threats. Arun relief ships at some Bloc-controlled docks are held for extended inspection. Extra days pass before clearances arrive. Fees suddenly rise. A few outer stations, already in debt, refuse Arun ships for fear of losing Bloc protection. On Arun worlds and habitats, plans shift. Shared gardens open their reserves. People tighten belts, trade more locally, repair old machines instead of ordering new parts. No riots start. Instead, long-practiced mutual aid nets spread the strain so no single place breaks. Human ships quietly adjust their schedules. A barge that once carried only grain now devotes a section to Arun-engineered seedlings that can grow in poor soil. A medical ship adds Arun Meditex to its crew and sets new routes toward stations the Bloc has started to squeeze. Some of these changes never reach the news channels. They are small moves done in quiet. You see them because you stay with the human delegation, watching how they do not answer threat, but with support. In one meeting, a junior officer proposes sending a heavily armed escort to make a point near a Bloc toll point that is harassing Arun ships. Kira shakes her head. We will not protect our friends by turning them into a shield for our guns, she says. We add escorts only when there is clear risk of attack. We make those lists public. We do not sneak, Toma adds, and we make sure every escort missions record shows our rules of engagement. Help first, defend if needed, no attacks of pride. Slowly, the pattern becomes clear even to those who wished not to see it. Wherever the Bloc titans, humans and Arun, appear, not with new threats, but with new forms of help. They move like caretakers around sore spots, cooling what the Bloc heats. The change does not go unnoticed. In the next full council session, a delegate from a small mining belt stands and speaks, voice shaking only a little. Our stations have paid Bloc fees for decades, she says. We got some safety and we paid silence for it. When the Bloc cut spare parts to our smallest ring in order to punish the Arun, we asked them for relief. They said no. A human Arun convoy arrived instead, with parts and medics. They charged us nothing but asked for shared audit of the handover. We agreed. Their report is in the record. We will now join their working group on oversight. A few seats over, another delegate from a water-poor moon rises next. The Bloc tells us that only fear keeps raiders away, he says. Yet when raiders hit our outer pumps last cycle, it was an Arun rescue craft escorted by a human patrol that arrived first. They did not ask for future taxes. They asked us to sign a mutual aid pact. We did. I wish to place that pact in the council archive. Each story adds a small stone to the growing shape of something new. The Bloc is still powerful. Their fleet still patrol many lanes, but now there is a visible alternative. Corridors where humans and Arun share not just ships, but rules, and where restraint is not a private promise, but a public practice. On a quiet day between sessions, you find yourself once more on the garden deck. The air smells of leaves and damp soil. The light is gentle, set to a soft gold that makes the green around you seem warmer. A faint buzz of small cleaning drones moves under the larger sounds of water and distant engines. Samayan, Admiral Kira Vaughn, and Sile of Arun stand near a low bench by a shallow pool. Toma sits on the bench itself, slate resting on their knees, for once not typing. For a while, the three simply stand together in easy silence, watching the slow movement of water in the pool. Small fish, brought from Earth and an Aro's sea, swim side by side, tiny bodies flashing. It will get harder, Kira says at last. The Bloc will not stop pushing. Some of our own people will grow tired of always taking the careful path. Sail nods. Some of our people already ask why we did not stay apart, they say. They fear we will be pulled into storms we cannot calm. Toma looks up at them both. You could have stayed apart, they say to Sile. You could have kept sending only aid after harm, never risking your own supplies or safety. Sail's lips curve in a faint, sad smile. We have done that for many years, they say. We learned that healing after harm is good, but not enough. It does not change the rules that create the harm. Kira crouches by the pool and touches the water with 2 fingers, sending out a small ring. The fish do not flee. They simply shift and settle again. We are still learning too, she says. Restra is hard. It goes against many old habits. Toma chuckles softly. Tell that to my inbox, they say. Every week I get at least one message from a commander who wants to know why we cannot have just a little more freedom to act without audits. Sile lowers themselves to sit on the bench beside Toma. And what do you tell them, they ask. I tell them that any freedom that depends on no one watching is not freedom we trust anymore, Toma says. I remind them of our own history, and I remind them that our allies like you chose us because of those limits, not in spite of them. Sail nods slowly. That is why we trust you, they say. Not because you have ships that can fight. Many have those. We trust you because you tie those ships down with ropes. You refuse to cut even when it would be easy. Kira stands again. For a moment, the three of them stand close. A small, quiet circle in the wide garden. You think back to your first day on Lyre Spire, when most of the galaxy still saw humans as useful dangers and the Aruan as harmless healers. Now you see something different. Humans have not become gentle. They still hold power that can harm. But they have chosen to surround that power with watchers, laws, and habits that make sudden cruelty harder. The Arun have not become warriors. They still carry no heavy guns, but they have chosen to stand next to those who do, not to borrow those guns, but to steady the hand that holds them. Later you walk with Kira and sail to a wide viewing port beside one of the station's outer docks. Outside, a human ship and an Arun rescue craft drift side by side, preparing to depart. The human vessel is long and angular, its hull marked with the soft glow of running lights and the sharp lines of engine vents. The Arun craft is rounder, with gentle curves and a faint, living shimmer along its surface where bio-grown systems meet hard metal. Dock crews move between them in small shuttles, trading supplies, staff, and last messages. You can see human medics boarding the Arun ship and Arun sensor specialists stepping onto the human one. They carry tools and cases, but also small containers of soil, seedlings, cultural records. They are weaving, not the banned word. You correct yourself. They are building a shared life, bit by bit. First joint patrol, Toma says quietly. Mixed crew, shared command protocol. Live records sent to 3 separate archives. Rescue-focused route, Kira adds. Outer stations, old lanes, places the Bloc has thinned its patrols to make a point. Sail watches the 2 ships. We call this pairing gentle guardians in our own language, they say. Not because we are passive, but because we guard without trying to own. You watch as the ships release from the dock together, their engines warm, then flare in a slow, steady burn. They turn, align, and move out into the dark, side by side. Lights along their hulls blink in a simple shared pattern, a mutual greeting and promise. Behind you, the council chamber buzzes with new arguments, new fears, new hopes. Ahead of you in the long night between stars, a different kind of promise travels. Protection without domination, power with its hands, always visible. You came here wanting to understand how real safety is built. You thought you might find it in strong hulls, in smart laws, in wise leaders. You did find those things. But you also found something quieter. You found that real safety grows in the choice, made over and over, to hold back when it would be easy to hit, in the records that make that choice visible, in the allies who choose to stand near such power, not because they are afraid of it, but because they trust how it is held. Out in the dark, the paired ships shrink to two small lights, moving together toward the disputed corridor, and all the lives that pass through it. They are not the biggest ships in the galaxy, but as you watch them go, you understand that size was never the point.